with you on the website. And if you signed up via social media, I would urge you to visit our website for more information on how you can benefit from PICHA. I will go ahead and introduce Joe to us today and what he does. And I must say that he has quite the experience and portfolio. So diving right into it, as I said before, Joe is a brand strategist, a strategic thinker, and an African entrepreneur. He embodies his enthusiastic Kenyan roots in everything he does. He's a driven entrepreneur, strategist, and educator, always searching for the next adventure. He is a co-founder of Crooked Space, which is a boutique agency in Nairobi and the United States that serves both SMEs and multinational corporations like USAID, Adrian, Shelter Afrique, among others. Joe is an alumnus of the University of Nairobi, where he pursued a Bachelor's of Arts in Design. He spent more than 9 years working in branding, marketing, and advertising, and has cultivated an in-depth understanding of the African market and the global market. He has the ability to co-create impactful brands by developing strategies for brand impact, quality, control, consistency, and innovation. Mr. Joe Mutuku, welcome, and it's an honor to have you on PICHA Talks.
Thank you. I think I should edit my bio now.
Please give us the updated version.
I think you added the updates, I guess. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be considered as someone who has something to say, and I'm hoping we're gonna have a good conversation.
Excellent. We are honored to have you here today. So I'll dive right in, and I would like to know, how did your journey into branding and marketing begin?
All right. I usually tell people all the time it was an accidental journey. But I really, really love it. Like you said, I went to the University of Nairobi. Honestly, when I got there, I actually decided I was gonna do design on the day that I got there. So and I always thought that I was gonna pursue interior design, but then along the journey, I realized that I am really good at graphic design. And in the process, I got an internship somewhere in a marketing agency in Lavington. And when I went there, let's just say my eyes were opened. I could see how people were doing amazing things through graphic design, and they were making a lot of money doing it as well. I remember my creative director, I heard how much he was being paid, and I was, oh my gosh, graphic design. But along the journey of doing graphic design, I realized that I wasn't satisfied with just beautiful things or creating beautiful things. I realized that I wanted to create beautiful things that have meaning and that serve a purpose and are able to solve problems. So I also had the privilege of having good mentors, creative directors that thought like that. They never really thought about design as an aesthetic element. They thought about design as a solution. And so when I started diving into that world of thinking of design as a solution and trying to see all the possibilities of how it solves problems for others, I fell in love with that part, the strategy part of design rather than the design. Yes, I can design in my sleep, but I loved the idea that the exponential value of design is not in the design itself, but in what it does if it's done well. And then I had the privilege of working with really big brands and even brands that really understood it, because I ended up working in another boutique branding agency that had branches in Brazil, Uganda, like it was very wide, UK. So I got to interact with how international brands think. And I saw that, wow, this thing is a powerful tool. And the people who know how to use it know how to navigate within business and succeed. And so I did that for a while. And like all of us, we climbed the corporate ladder until we hit a ceiling where you can't really climb anymore. And then me and my friend of mine, who was also in his own journey, we discovered, we really love this thing, but what if we offered this solution to people who couldn't afford it, or the regular entrepreneur who couldn't really, because how much we were charging in those agencies where I was working was incredible, a lot of money that I'm not sure a lot of local brands would be able to do that. So I told him, hey, let's do a test run. So a friend of mine sent a client to me and we started doing some work for her. I took her through the same process, help her create a really distinct brand that could meet the goals that she wanted. And she was happy about it. So I told my friend, hey, look, here's a case study. I already did it for this lady and she loves it. So why don't we try to scale this as a business and try to build it? So that is how my business began. But the love for strategy really began when I realized that I'm not really a big fan of design on its own. I love design when it has a purpose, when it's achieving a goal, because it can be a powerful tool. Yeah, I don't want to keep the story going because I know it's a long story.
Well, we were actually enjoying the story. And I think to most people, the view that they have of design is the creative part only. And not many people take time to think about the strategic part of it. And I guess that's what makes other companies stand out, and others just seem mediocre and get by.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
speaking of that, to a businessman or a creative who is starting out, how important is branding and marketing for such an individual or a business?
It depends. It depends on what you want. If your goal is to cash in and cash out, probably I would say more of marketing, less of branding, right? You just go out there and shout your name to everyone that will listen. Like, go and pound those messages on everyone, and the one who listens and pays you money, you take it, do the work, and you're good. If that is your intention. If your intention is purely a money-making exercise, you're not passionate about it, it's an opportunity for you. If you saw, oh my gosh, there's this market gap. A lot of people are earning money in this industry, so I'm gonna go in and get my piece. So I would say that, yeah, just probably do a little bit of branding, but do massive marketing and just saturate your message out there. Someone's gonna pick it up who wants to do it, and you might earn money in the process. But if your goal is long term, you want to be a long for a very long time. You want to get to a point where you're charging premium prices. You want to get to a point where you're not worried about customers because they keep coming back. You want to get to a point where when people call your name, they know what to expect. They know what to expect, and they know how much it would need from them to invest in you, and they're not complaining or telling you to do page come to their office every 2 weeks to kind of like see if your proposal works. So if that is your end goal, if you want to really stand out, you want to leverage on yourself, you want to become valuable in the industry, then I don't know if that answers the question.
That does, yes, very well. So how can one attract new clients as a creative business?
I mean, there's multiple ways you can do that. Usually I try to let people know that you have to do the foundation work first. Before you're talking to people out there, there are some things that you really need to have in order for yourself and your brand to give you direction. Because if you're going and attracting and you don't know what your value proposition is or why people should come to you, then you're gonna get a lot of pushback and you might not even succeed. So when you want to start is you want to ask yourself, why are you doing it in the first place, and being very honest about the reason that you're attaching to it. You want to identify who your client is. You want to define them to the teeth. I go to great lengths trying to explain how people should define them. More and more, we're getting into the age where you should define your clients based more on their psychographics than their demographics. We're living it's a small world. So talking about things like age or economics or locations is starting to become unnecessary. Now you have to look at people in terms of their worldview and how they see the world, because we're living in an age where we have 16-year-olds who listen to soul music and 80s music and dress like the 80s, and you have 60-year-olds like Snoop Dogg who sag their pants and do the quick walk. So it's not, we're not confined. Your audience is less and less being confined to their age status, but you kind of have to look at their mind now. Like what are they seeing in their mind? Where do they want to go? Because if you're saying my target is 16 to 35, but their interests are very far away from what it is that you're doing, that is not your target. So you shouldn't even be saying things like that's being lazy in your analysis of your audience. So think about them more in the psychographics than in demographics, and you'll be on your way. The other thing you need to know is what you bring, what value do you bring, what perspective, why you, why should people pick you in the first place? So what makes you special? And sometimes you might not know that immediately. You might have to you might have to gain some experience to be able to know what stands out and where your strengths are. So like I tell a lot of creatives in the beginning, you do not want to specialize in the beginning because maybe you're cheating yourself. Like I told you, I wanted to do interior design. Now I have no desire for interior design. So, but you have to expose yourself to different disciplines to be able to know where you excel at, and then you're going to niche down on that. And then you have to figure out the how in terms of an execution plan. So if you define your audience as CEOs, if you're not on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram, how are you talking to those people? If you're just on Behance and you're talking to CEOs don't go on Behance. So you have to figure out the how. If you're targeting CEOs, go to where they are. Probably gonna have to do some case studies or things like that. put yourself in front of them and then make your case. And if they're going to be the right fit, you're going to have a client.
So speaking of platforms and putting yourself out there, I love how you've positioned your brand and how easy it is for someone to get all the information about you. And one of the things that stood out when I was going through your profile is the brand story that you have for your company. Could you explain to us what a brand story is and how one can go about creating something similar for themselves or an organization?
Okay, so I have interacted with this topic a lot, and every time I kind of speak to people about it, and even when we get clients and we help them do this thing, it always feels like it's just so daunting. Like it just requires like a lot of work and thought, and it might be bigger than people would even absorb. So it feels like such a task to define it. But I think to make it super easy for people to understand what a brand story is your brand story is the reason why you are the person that you are that does the things that you do. Just if you're able to tell that story plainly and authentically and speak from the heart, that is your brand story. It doesn't have to be articulate. Like, yes, if you're a big brand, you come to people like us, we help you articulate it in the most perfect way possible. But if you're just starting out and you're trying to figure out your brand story, you just try to communicate why you are the person that you are, the thing that does the things that you do, and what are the things in your journey that has influenced you to become the person that you are. And when people read that story, it's going to be an authentic story and they're going to connect with it if they share the same values and beliefs that you have. And there you go.
What's the most powerful brand story that you've ever come across?
That is a difficult question. I think there are many. There are many powerful brand stories that, and usually they are all around us. I think the story of Rosa Parks, I don't know if you know who Rosa Parks is.
I do.
The story of Rosa Parks is one that is very like heavy and enticing for me, especially for people who value the things that I value. So when I look at Rosa Parks' story, I can really connect very deeply with it, because this is a lady who decided to do something that was contrary to what was expected or what other people believe that things should be. So the whole story of her journey and not refusing to stand up in a bus, that moment in itself is very impactful. And I feel like if Rosa Parks would then in the next day use that story to be able to build a business, she would have been extremely successful. Because what you need to understand is the connection is what inspires people, and then your product becomes an expression of that belief that people share. So if I have connected to Rosa Parks' story and I go to her event and she's selling whatever she's selling, I'm gonna buy. I do not care if it's a t-shirt that is my size, or if it's printed correctly, or if it's, so all those things become irrelevant to me because of the belief I have in what she represents. And what brands need to understand is, yes, your product is good, it's amazing, yes, it should be. But if people do not believe or they're not convicted in what you represent, you're going to struggle to sell your product. The reason why most people are buying Teslas right now, yes, they're beautiful cars, well-made cars, but the belief that is attached to them, I am sophisticated, environmentally conscious, and I want to do good, and I want to live a sustainable, and I want to embody sustainability in my life and in my future. That is what people believe, and they buy the car. They do not buy the car and then have the belief. If you look at all the most impactful brands out there, they have created a belief, and then after the belief, they've created products. Disney is a super unique example. Instead of them creating toys and then creating movies, they create movies and then sell toys. Why? Because if you believe in the story of the movie, they will not need to tell you to buy toys. If I love Thor, I'm going to go and buy a Thor action figure or do all those things. So the product is important, but the product has its place. Focus on trying to get people to have this really deep connection with you, and then buying your product is going to be automatic.
That is amazing. And you just answered my question, where I was going to ask you about a brand case or a case study, and you've just outlined it very well. Now, there may be a creative out there or a business that is doing well, and they are not satisfied with their brand. How can someone take their brand from good to great?
Okay, I think you have to define what great looks like. Because if it's, look, there's usually three things that are usually happening in any business, right? Three strategies. This is how I like to define it. There's a brand strategy, which I usually say it's centered around building perception. That is what a brand strategy is trying to do, just build perception. Then you have a business strategy, which is centered around building customers and acquiring, increasing sales, diminishing expenses, right? Or increasing income, diminishing expenses, and trying to make that pie as big as it can. It's a business strategy. And then you have a marketing strategy that is trying to promote. It's trying to promote the perception and the business strategy. So that's what your marketing is promoting. When you're shouting out there, you're promoting these two strategies and for them to excel and to grow. So you need to ask yourself which one is more important to you. Is it important to you to build big leverage on your perception, or is it important to build big leverage on your profits? Based on what you pick, you will do your marketing accordingly based on what you value.
Wow, that is powerful. I mean, I am also learning. It's like I'm in class right now, and I can tell you, I know that you offer master classes on branding and marketing, and just from listening to you saying that, I think I'm gonna sign up for that. We are gonna sign up as an organization to learn more and dig in deeper into the ethos of branding and marketing.
Awesome.
Now, so let's say someone has gotten their brand down and they have their marketing strategy in place and their business strategy also working well. How can they create brand consistency and sustain it over a long period of time?
Okay. It's good that you've outlined it like that, because the key thing, if you want to create consistency, is, and I don't know if this word is a difficult word. I'm going to try and find another word to replace it, but the word is alignment, right? the word is alignment. If your brand strategy very well aligned with your business strategy, very well aligned with your marketing strategy, all of them are like in a very harmonious dance, then you're going to achieve the highest level of consistency, and you're going to scale incredibly fast. This is, I know during my time in Kenya, there is something that really used to stand out for me every time I would go to Java. Every time I would enter any Java, I would have the same experience. I would have the same. It doesn't matter where I was, as long as it's a Java. I know the fruit, the drink is gonna be the same. I know the food is gonna be the same. I know the service is gonna be the same. Like, there's a lot of alignment that has been done in making sure that what I experience from one to another is the same. The logo is the same. The packaging is the same. There is a lot that is happening that is harmonious across board. And I'm sure it was very difficult to achieve. But the reason why I believe the business is growing is because they've been able to put in place structures to make sure that their operations are the same. They're aligned to the brand, which is the same, which is aligned to their marketing, which is the same. So when all these things are happening in tandem, it is very easy for you to have loyalty. It is very easy for you to have referrals. It is very easy for you to continue to scale and build up your businesses. The reason why a lot of businesses struggle is because there is inconsistencies. I know you worked for a very big business. They make billions, but they had zero brand. They were great business, zero brand. They brought us in because they're like, look, we want to be in a place where we are irreplaceable. We don't want the next person who comes in with a big budget and infrastructure, because they can replace you. If someone comes in and does your exact business at just a cheaper price, and all you had was a business and zero brand, you're out of business. But so what we had to do is kind of like help them now bring this alignment. And we had to start from the top. Spoke with the CEO. What does this brand look like for you? Talk with the C-level. What does this brand look for you? Already it was very inconsistent. So talked to the 300 employees that they have. Everyone is saying different things. We went to talk to their clients. So there was a lot of things that were being said that some of them were good, most of them were good, but they were very different. So our goal was to kind of like be like, hey, this is what your CEO thinks and wants your brand to grow. Hey, C-level, it's not what you were thinking, it's this. Hey, middle management and employees, it's this. And hey, by the way, so your identity doesn't even say that. You guys have to change it. Your brand architecture doesn't even align with that. You have to change it. So the process of bringing everything to speak the same language in an organization and outside the organization helps you to be able to grow your brand. Because now if I talk to the watchman, it's gonna say the same thing the CEO said, it's gonna say the same thing the C-level said, same thing the client said. And if I go home, I'm gonna believe it because everyone that I have talked to was in alignment. But if I talk to someone and they say, oh, Rich is amazing, another person says, Rich can't be trusted. And the other person says, Rich is good, but to a certain point. If I get all these mixed messages and I go home, I do not know what to think of Rich and I can't trust him. But if all these people said the same thing and I go home, I'll be like, yeah, I can trust that dude even though I've never done anything with him.
It's kind of like Google's reviews.
Yeah. 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 People trust. Yeah. It's very funny. People, Seth Godin says this thing that I think is just amazing, brilliant. He says that people do not listen to what other people, or they do not listen with what you say about yourself. They can listen to what their friends say about you, but they will listen even more to what they say about you. So it's not even about what you're saying. I mean, what you're saying, it's good, but it's irrelevant. They won't listen to you. If their friends say it, they might listen to their friends or even strangers sometimes. But the most incredible thing is when they're saying it to themselves. There are people who look like at an iPhone and they say, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing I needed. If they are saying it to themselves, they're totally convinced and they're going and they're buying. But if the company or the brand is just shouting, and this is what a lot of businesses do, they're just shouting these messages, buy me, I am amazing, buy me, doesn't work. If someone else says, yes, I bought him, it was amazing, I will trust that person more than I will trust you who is shouting and telling everyone how amazing you are.
That is fascinating. Completely fascinating. There is nothing as strong as word of mouth, because I find that in business, it is easier to keep an existing client than to go out and get new clients. And how you treat them, how you treat your employees, it reflects on how they treat your customers, and vice versa, how it all comes back to help the business. Now, you mentioned a number of things. For example, the book by Seth Godin. What other books would you recommend that someone read when they're starting out to build their brand?
I would say start with Simon Sinek's book. It's called Start With Why. Start with that one. Then I would say, so I'm gonna present them in the three formats that I just talked about. So in regards to branding, just read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. If you feel like you want to go even deeper, read, I forget what his name is, but the book is called Bigger Than This. This person talks about how everyday commodity brands can stand out in an industry. So it doesn't matter if you're selling like toilet paper or like something that is completely common and saturated, you can still build a niche from it and succeed as a brand. You should read that book. So that is on the branding. If you want to go deeper, go and read all books by Martin Neumeyer. That is on the branding side. On the business side, you want to read Red Ocean, Blue Ocean, read that one. And then on the marketing side, you can read This is Marketing by Seth Godin or The Purple Cow. Or if you want to go deeper, just order all books by Seth Godin. They're going to blow your mind. And yeah.
That is something. Now, many of us might be wondering, you are sharing quite a lot of knowledge, and I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if someone wants to learn more and go deeper into it, you do offer masterclasses. Could you tell us more about that and what it covers?
Okay, so I'm not currently doing them right now, but if someone was to convince me, I might make an exception. Um, so, but the idea with the masterclass is to teach people, CEOs, how they can empower their brand to be able to get to a place where they can leverage it and build its value, right? Whether it's your personal brand or whether it's your business. If you want to build its value, and by building value, here's what I'm saying. If you're a personal brand, there are people that if I was to say to you, maybe you have a wedding, right? And you're talking to all these suppliers, and then you come to me and I tell you, hey, I have, what's the name of this dude from Hell's Kitchen?
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay. If I come to you and I tell you I have Gordon Ramsay, I do not have to say anything after that. I do not have to show you his portfolio. I do not have to explain to you. I just don't have to do a lot of convincing. If you hear that I tell you I have Gordon Ramsay, you lay back, say how much does it cost, and then you will pay whatever it costs if you have the money, and you will go and sleep because you already know what to expect. When Gordon Ramsay is there, quality is guaranteed when it comes to catering and everything. So that is the amount of leverage that a name carries if you build it well. If you do not have a name that has leverage as a personal brand, you cannot walk into a room and kind of like leverage a value that would be bigger than your competitors and still be in business. Same thing for your business. There are businesses, if I mention, that's why people have a section in their websites where they show brands like Forbes and things like that. The reason why they're doing that, it's because those names by themselves are the leverage. If this person has been on Forbes, there's an amount that you can't, or this business, there are figures that you can't talk to them about. So it kind of like builds their value. So what you want for your business is to build your name to have the value where if someone came in and did your exact business top to bottom, you can still go to sleep and know you'll have customers tomorrow, because people are not just buying the products that you sell, they're buying the value that is in the brand that is you or your business. So what I do in my masterclass is help you, give you kind of like the blueprint of how to do that. And if you are looking to get like a quick fix, you think that after the masterclass, you go home and you do a simple exercise and you're done, do not join. You'll be disappointed because it's going to require you to do some strategic work and have patience. But at the end of the day, when you look back, oh my gosh, you will be amazed because you can build a business for 10 years without having a brand at all. Or you can start today and build your brand, and 10 years later, you look back, you do not have to do any marketing. You do not have to do any advertising. Tesla doesn't even do, have you ever heard someone tell you to buy a Tesla? I see them here all the time. Nobody tells you you should go buy a Tesla. They sell them without even people seeing them. People have never seen, they have spent a lot of money on these things and they haven't even looked at them. You and your product, you're going and you're doing all these, showing the client, like you're going into all this trouble of trying to convince the client about your product when you shouldn't, when there are people who are making products without even the client ever seeing them. Kanye West has an album that people are buying without hearing it. Other artists are doing the same thing. They are selling something people have not, they don't know if it's gonna be horrible or non-existent, But people go and they spend their money because they already know Kanye West can't make anything bad. If Kanye West says it's gonna be $30, it's $30. If he says it's gonna be 100, it's 100. So it doesn't really matter what the price is. This brand has this type of value for me, and whatever they're gonna ask for, I'm gonna pay.
So last question before we go into the audience's questions. I can see that the questions are streaming in, and people are saying how they are enjoying the talk and learning a lot from it. When it comes to brands, there are brands that are tied to personalities. It's interesting that you mentioned Tesla, because Tesla don't even have a PR team. Musk fired everyone, but that doesn't seem to have affected how the brand is perceived out there or their marketing activities. So how can someone leverage their personality to help their brand? And how can someone grow their brand if they don't want it to be attached to their personality? And is it possible to make it a success?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a question I interact with a lot. If everyone is Kenyan, they're gonna understand this example. So you have the Bob Collymore, who was there before. And then you have the CEO of Equity Bank, right? Equity Bank is a very successful financial institution. Safaricom is a very successful financial institution. But Safaricom had something more, which is Bob Collymore, who had this incredible personality and was likable and was engaging. And he kind of like helped the business in a certain way. And then you have the CEO of Equity, who rarely in the public light. He's a genius, but his business is successful. So it's not really a requirement for you as a CEO to put your personality out there on display for your business to be successful, but it does help. Here's why I say it helps. Because ultimately, people connect more with people than with entities, companies. So you want to, it's almost like you're humanizing. When you come out as a CEO of your company and you're interacting with people in that capacity and shining light on your company, you're humanizing your company's experience. So in a way where if your company brand was to do something wrong, it kind of feels like there is grace for that. Like people can forgive sometimes, most of the time actually, when the person that is attached to the business is very likable. They can give it a second chance. If the person that is in the business is always behind the scenes and they have never gotten to know them, sometimes it can be difficult to be like, you know what, these guys messed up. An example is Volkswagen. If you are familiar with the Volkswagen scandal, where they created a device for the cars that would cheat the emissions of their cars. So their cars were polluting the environment, but they had a device that when the car is tested, it doesn't look like it's polluting. And the scandal came out, and the CEO and a lot of people went to jail, and people really didn't have grace for it. And I'm sure there are people who moved from the brand completely after hearing that story, because those people were never in the public domain, if you can call it that. I think if those people were in the public domain and displayed a character or personality that kind of like connected with people, maybe people would give them a benefit of the doubt, and maybe the business wouldn't have received the backlash that it got long term. I don't know if that makes some sense.
That makes sense. And in terms of companies that have personalities and have messed up before and have gotten grace, do you have an example of such?
That have Tesla even messed up, right? So,
oh, actually, that happens all the time. Now that you mention
yeah, they mess up all the time. They probably didn't get the right order and delivered on time. There's delays, there's things like that. But still, people keep on buying them. Their first versions were not as reliable as they were advertised, but people keep buying them. Why? Because they almost want it to work. It's not like a transaction. When people are buying Teslas and even Apple and things like that, it's more of there's the desire for, I really want this business to succeed. I don't know why, but I connect with it so much that I want it to succeed, and I want to keep being part of the tribe. I have my own personal example. There was a period of time where my laptop caused me a lot of grief. I spent a lot of money on it, and it was ridiculous because I was fixing it. It was very unreliable. But what I did, I went and bought the same computer again. So you would think that because the computer has shown to be very, very unreliable to me, that I would be like, I'm never going to interact with these computers ever again. I am switching, trying something new. But I went and bought the same computer because I'm like, it's just a model. It's just this model. Oh, all Apple computers are nice. It's just this one. So I'm making excuses for them, and it costs me a lot of money. Why? Because they have managed to convince me one way or another that what they're doing is good, and I'm really aligned to what they're doing. So now, like, when they make mistakes, I'm making excuses for them instead of complaining. If they didn't have a brand and something goes wrong, I am the first person to complain and write bad reviews and go out of my way to make sure that nobody ever buys these kind of computers again. So people, if you have created a brand that is very powerful, that has gotten people to even form communities around, I'm not saying you should be messing up, but you are better off, because if things do go wrong, because things go wrong every time, people can have understanding and grace for you, because they're like, I know if these people, I know they value privacy. So if there was a leak, that leak had to be like done, like it was inevitable. But if your company has already been suspicious, people have had suspicions on privacy, and then there's a leak, your whole company goes down.
Kaput, done.
Yeah.
That is quite insightful. Now we're going to go into the Q&A session, and I hope that you're learning as much as I am on this other side. So I'll go right into the comments, and I can see. So we'll go to the first question. Hi, my name is Ian, a freelance photographer. I have been in the field since 2017, but struggling to pull the business to life. I'm suffering from marketing. I have no customers at all, and sometimes I wonder if branding is the problem, or there's something I need to do better. I'm not sure if that's a question or
Oh, yeah.
yes.
It didn't seem like a question, but I guess here's just use the three P's. I call them the three P's: the brand strategy, business strategy, marketing strategy. The reason why I call them the 3Ps is because the first P is perception for brand strategy. Try to go out there and ask people, hey, what do you think of me? Ask enough people and try to see what they say. If their answers are similar, you're in a good place. If their answers are different, and some people even say they don't know, you have zero brand and you need to come talk to me. Then you have the second P, which is positioning, which is where your business strategy is around. So have you positioned yourself to be in a space where you can access customers that people can't access and service them? Are you operating in a wide ocean, or are you operating in a field where there's very few of you and so you're capitalizing? For example, have you decided that, hey, because everyone's doing weddings, why don't I focus on receptions and make it my core business, just that aspect of receptions? Or what if when people are talking about real estate, I'm talking about single family homes. So I take photos of single family homes and try to see if you can be the leader of that niche. So have you done enough to position yourself as the only one, or maybe one of the few that is able to do the things that you're doing? Or are you one out of the 110,000 out there options that everyone else is looking at? And then the third P is promotion, which I discourage anyone from doing any promotion when they haven't figured out the perception and the positioning. If you're promoting something that you don't know, you're not going to get results. You're just like shouting. But if you're promoting a perception that you already know you want to create, and a positioning you're very, very centered on, then your marketing is going to be very effective. I know for myself, I have run marketing ads that have had 97% success rate, because I'm not talking to everybody. I'm going straight to the people that I'm talking to. So whoever the person was that asked that question, I hope that structure helps you.
And Ann says, I am so excited about this session. Been following Joe for a minute. My question, something that was shared on PICHA there's something that was shared on PICHA that tagged you about people being selfish and how to tap into that to grow your brand. Kindly elaborate.
All right. Well, it's a sad truth, but it's true. People do not care about you. People care about themselves. It's just how it is. Don't take it personally. No one is waking up in the morning thinking about you, honestly. People are thinking about themselves, their families, and their interests. So what you want to do as your business is you want to align yourself with those interests. You know, the thing a lot of businesses struggle with is you want to be the star of the show for your audience. No, your audience has a lot of things that they're aligned to. You want to add yourself into that alignment of things that they're aligned to. Here's an example. In the evenings, when I'm driving home from work, there is a playlist of loud music that I listen to that I really love. If I listen to that same playlist in the morning, it's horrible and I hate it, right? So if the person that made that playlist thought that my mind is always needing that playlist, they would be wrong, because I have a time when I need that playlist. And then there are times when I don't need that playlist. So your job as a playlist is not to invade my life. Your job is to add value to my life, because when I need you, I come to you and you give me the music that I love. So try to think of yourself stop thinking that everything is about you and you're the star. No, you are the person that comes into people's life to help them be able to do the things that they want to do and to do them well. If I can give you another example is champagne, right? No one wakes up in the morning and is like, I'm going to drink champagne. Because what these guys knew is they knew people do not need us all the time. We want them to need us when they're thinking of celebration. So they packaged their whole brand to sit in that sphere of celebration. And they did everything that they could to be able to cement that feeling in the minds of their customers. Now, when people have struck a deal that is really good, or they've won something, or they've done something very exciting, they go to that brand for celebration. So that brand has no business entering in other spheres of that person's life, because they will be bringing confusion, and it's not really about them. What you need to realize with your company, your brand, or what you're trying to do, you're adding value to someone. So show me that when I need you, you can really come through for me. If I am a sports fan and you're showing me sports insights, I value you, because the thing that I want, you're giving it to me. If I am a person that is trying to build a business and you're giving me tips, I value you. So if I'm a person that is trying to grow my business and you're trying to sell me a gym membership, you're gonna sell me the gym membership for a long time. Lose weight. Don't come to me and tell me about your gym membership. Come and tell me, hey, I know you're trying to lose weight and I know it's hard. I can help you a little bit. Here's my meal plan. Just try it for 30 days. If you want to continue, come to me and then we'll try to figure something out. So that person will be like, oh, first of all, thank you. They're going to try the meal plan. It's like, oh, this plan is cool. I think that person was onto something. Now they will come to you and be like, all right, let's see what else I can do from here. So use the thinking of Gary Vaynerchuk, where he says, you give before expecting to receive. No one cares about what it is that you're selling. Go out there and give value in whatever industry that you are. And once you give it enough times, you build trust, and people will come back to you when they want to dive deeper into that thing. Whew, spoken a lot.
You've spoken a lot of good gems right there. Then we have a question from Mitchell, and she's asking, are there similarities between business branding and personal branding, or are they the same?
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities and differences at the same time. I think even the frameworks that I use to help people kind of like define personal branding, I've had to differentiate them a little bit, because I realized there are some things that are fundamental to our personal brand that are not in a business brand. And here's what I mean. It would be unfair to confine you as a person to fit into a box. I believe that human beings have exponential potential, that some of it can be undefined. So when it comes to a business has some boundaries that it exists in, and it's always gonna stick within those boundaries. Human beings, however, they have more and they evolve. But so the goal of personal branding is to kind of like figure out the best first one that can propel you to do the other multiples if you choose to do them. If I use the example of Jay-Z or even Rihanna, for example, they had to be excellent musicians first before they would make shoes or even try to do anything else. If they would try to do all those 5-10 things that they're doing at the same time, they will probably not be as successful. So they had to start with their one thing that they were excellent at, build an exponential value on that and create an audience, and then add the other things that they also excel in that they want to do. So that I would say is probably the biggest difference for a personal brand, because I believe that human beings, yes, for now you can call me a brand strategy, but oh my gosh, once I start letting you know the things that I can do, you will be amazed. But my goal right now is not to, you have no business knowing about any of those things. I need to be able to create value within this first one, build it to a point where it can give me leverage to add the other things that I want to add. Look at everyone that has ever built something. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, all these people, Kanye West, now I see he's selling speakers. They had to excel in their one thing. And then from there, they can now add in the other things that they excel at.
Got that loud and clear. Mitchell, I hope that is well answered. And I can say that personally, that is something that I have also seen happen to me without knowing how to leverage a personal brand to build a business brand. So from Ian Joroge, due to low market, I decided to start doing small projects at home, product photography. And again, I wonder, how will the market notice me? How can I make this work?
You have a decision to make, right? You have a decision to be an artist or to be a designer. And those are two decisions that you have to take very seriously in your photography business, right? Because an artist is someone who is using a medium to express their creativity, right? And in the hope that people will find a lot of value in this creativity and they would want to join their world of how they see things, right? Osborne Macharia can be a good example for you. What Osborne, I feel he did is he expressed himself in the way that he sees is best, or what he finds a lot of value in doing. He expressed that. People fell in love with that, his artistic ability. And now when they call him for projects, they want him to do him. They want, hey, Osborne, come do you on my project, right? Mm-hmm. That is an artist. A designer is different. A designer is a problem solver. A designer is someone who goes to the client, listens to them, knows what they need, why they need it, who they need it for, what they're trying to achieve, and then they bring that to life if it's through product photography. So you have a decision to make. If you want to be a designer, spend more time talking to clients about what their needs are and then bring those to life. If you want to be an artist, pick a medium, try your level best to be different. Try to give it your all. Do a lot of passion projects and put them up on Behance. If they stand out enough, people will notice them. And when they come to you, the brief will be, do what you do best. But if you're a designer and they come to you, the brief is, this is what I want. Help me. I hope that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So we'll be wrapping up the Q&A session. So as we wrap up, there's another question. There was a post you did. So says, hi, Joe. there's a post you did back in 2021 as to why you stopped working with startups. Please, could you elaborate more on the whys and advise on the do's and don'ts that our startup should incorporate in their growth?
I put it up there in that post, but all right, I think the long and short of it is startups don't want to do the work. That's it. That's it. Startups.
In what way?
If you have to make a decision as a startup, right? And you have to make a decision as to whether you want to be an executor or an analyzer, right? So what happened when I realized and why I stopped working with startups is they would do a lot of analyzing and less execution. I would give them all the information that they need, give them frameworks, everything, but they wouldn't execute. Or they would execute once and then they would be out. So it started to become a frustration for me, because the only thing I'm gonna give you value is if you are ready to do the work. If you are not ready to do the work, then you shouldn't come to me, and I don't want to take your money. So the premise of me saying that is people who have already built businesses know what it takes to build a business. So when they do come to me, first of all, they value my time. And when I'm telling them to do something, they go out there and do it, and they see results. And they come back to me and they say, here's what I have found. So I want to work with businesses that are going to execute, not businesses that are going to be in this loop of analysis paralysis where they have the information, but they're not, I don't know if they're scared or, and to be fair, sometimes it is true. So the reason why I'm telling startups don't come to me right now, it's because what I am probably going to put you through might probably even make you have analysis paralysis, and I don't want you to do that. So you say that you need a logo. Look, go pick your favorite font, create your logo, go out there, start your business. We don't need to be going through a lot of work trying to figure out your font right now, or your logo, or your identity, or your voice right now, especially if you don't have, if you haven't kind of like proof of concept your business. If you haven't had, because at the very basic level, your product should be able to do what it says it can do, and you should be able to have repeat customers. Even without a brand, you should be able to, hey, I sell tomatoes. Do you want tomatoes? Yes. Here are the tomatoes. Give me cash. I have sold a bag of these, right? Now I want to be able to sell 10 bags of these, and probably even at a higher price. I can help you then. But if you haven't even got 5 customers, or even 10 customers, or even repeat customers, your problem is not branding. Yes, it is, but I would say probably just go out there and sell first. Go out there and prove that there is someone who needs what you have, and they're able to exchange something for it. And then once you have done that enough times, you can come to me and we can scale that. If you come to me when you haven't done any of that, and I'm taking you through this process, and then you do nothing, you haven't really helped yourself and your business.
So what does the average brand and marketing journey look like for a company? When they call you in to work with them, how long does it take to execute?
I think it depends. It depends on the company. It depends on the size, and it depends on what it is that they want. Usually, if it's just strategy, sometimes it can go from 2 weeks to 5 weeks. If it's strategy plus some execution, then it could go to 7 or 8 weeks. So it depends on the needs. And the reason why we as Crooked Space, we do not execute anything first is because sometimes we do strategy and we realize nothing needs to be executed. So if we spend time talking about your website or designing your website and did strategy and you already paid us for a website, it was pointless. So sometimes we go through a session and we realize, first of all, you don't even need a website. Just pull your website and keep doing what you're doing. You're fine. Or sometimes we're like, oh, you actually just need a whole new name. You need a whole new identity system and architecture and marketing. So then after we do the strategy, we will now do those things that the strategy has informed us we should do. We never do anything without understanding whether it's necessary or not. So strategy comes first, execution, if necessary, comes second.
And lastly, now this will be the last question as we sum up the talk. You had mentioned this earlier, but perhaps for some of the listeners who came in late, what's the difference between brand strategy and marketing strategy?
Okay. The difference between a brand strategy and a marketing strategy, I'm just going to use the 3 Ps like I said before. A brand strategy is centered around building perception. What do you want to be known for? What do you want people to say about you? What do you want them to think when they're thinking about you? So all the things that you do to be able to say, I want them to say this, that is a brand strategy. So you want people to think you're approachable and welcoming. Then you use bright colors, you use warm colors, you use yellows and your reds, and you use that as part of trying to get to that outcome. You want people to, again, say that you're welcoming and warm. How you talk to them personally on email or even on social media, the tone of voice has to marry that direction. You want people to think you're sophisticated. Your identity, your visual identity, how you present yourself has to say sophisticated. If you're out there, and I've actually talked to a business like this, out there, their identity and everything about them says sophisticated. But when they start talking, they're casual and very witty. So that is very confusing. There are people who, when they see the outside, they're going to have one conclusion. There are people who, when they interact, will have another conclusion. Let's say they meet with your CEO out in person and he's cold, reserved, serious, and conservative. All of a sudden, they're confused. What on earth is this business? So that the strategy around trying to build perception, and I can give you a framework if you join my coaching program of how to make sure you align all those things to say one thing. That is the brand strategy. Marketing, I use the second P, the third P, which is promotion. I want people to stop listening to marketers and people who make this thing confusing. Everyone is defining this thing as a very confusing thing, and it doesn't have to be. Marketing is just promoting what you already have, whether it's the perception that you want, you're selling that to people. You're putting that on social media, putting that on digital ads. When you're talking to the outside people about who you are or your positioning, you are marketing. Whatever that category falls under, you can call it whatever you want. But if you're using word of mouth, you're handing out flyers, you're putting out billboards, you're doing social media arts, you are promoting and you are marketing. When you're doing that, you're not branding. That is not branding, that is promoting. Branding is when you are trying to foster a perception that you already know. If you don't even know what perception you want people to have of you, you should even start there. Before you're even doing any ads, you should start there and then run the ads.
I think that is an excellent point to end at, because it ties right in with the topic and the reason why we are having this talk today. I hope that the talk has been helpful to each and every one of you, as it has been to me, and I have learned quite a lot of things going forward. As a parting shot, is there any question that you wished we could have asked you that we didn't ask? Or anything that you'd like to add before we close?
I think I'll say that I really appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate the time to speak to you. It's always fun for me to share knowledge. I think I saw you had tried to make this happen for a while, and I felt like I had to do it for you, and I'm excited to have done that, and I'm hoping people have found it valuable. Yeah, if people want to, I guess, know more, just go follow me on Instagram, Real Joe Mutuku, or on LinkedIn, Joe Mutuku. If you want to check out what we do, go to crookedspace.com. You'll see some of the work we do in my business. If you want to interact with me personally, I do consulting. Just go to my Instagram, you'll find all the links that you need to be able to access me. I do trainings for businesses as well. I'm calling it a brand clarity intensive. So in this session, I kind of like take top management businesses through a process of how to be able to think about the brand and how to be able to lead it so that it can be successful and build value for them. Those workshops are the ones that I'm currently doing. Unfortunately, I'm not doing one-on-one masterclasses. So if you are a business, go and click on the link in my bio on the business intensive. I think that's what I've called it. And then we'll interact there, and then hopefully it's going to be valuable for you.
And I must say, for everyone who is in the talk right now and who'll be watching, the first part to start learning about how to brand yourself would be Joe's Instagram page. You click on his profile, and there's one link in his bio, which leads you to all the information that you need to know about him. If businesses or individuals were to do that, it would make knowing them way easier and getting in touch even simpler to drum up more business. As a wrap up, I would like to thank you, Joe, very much for your time, and more importantly, for sharing your knowledge and skills. We know that it is not cheap, as they will find out in the workshops. So this is immense value that we've received, and from the bottom of our hearts, as PICHA Images, thank you.
You're
now,
welcome.
To all our listeners, if you're a photographer and or a creative and you're trying to learn and grow your business, go to pichaimages.com and sign up on the website. And through that, you'll be able to receive more information regarding PICHA Talks, where to gain resources to help you grow your skills and your business, as well as linkages to other businesses for gigs. As PICHA, we strive to grow the community, not just from a knowledge perspective, but also from an economical perspective. And once you have the knowledge and the economics in place, we're also creating a community for each and every creative, so that you can walk this journey together. Because alone, we can only do so much, but together, we can do much more. Asanteni sana. Thank you for your time. This talk will be available on YouTube, and it shall also be shared on our IG platforms. Have a good evening, morning, or lunch from whichever part of the world you're watching. Kwaheri. Thank you, Joe.
All right. Cheers, man. Send me the link to the recording. I would also like to see.
I will.
All right. Cheers, man.